In this lesson we'll create the table. So what we're going to do is create a quarter of the table, and we're going to mirror it across twice so that we create the full table. And this is a technique that's used in CG quite a lot of the time. If you've got a symmetrical object, you can just create part of it and it just saves you time. Okay, so let's get started. I'm just going to deselect, press A to deselect, and then just create a cube. So create cube, there's our cube. Just going to scale it. So just scale it down a little bit. I've got snapping on, just turn that off for a second. Let me just undo my scale there. Try that again. It's better. Okay, so we're going to split this into quarters. So we'll just use edit mode, and then we're going to go into tools and loop cut, and we'll click, and then we'll right click to get that exactly in the middle, and then we'll click again, we'll try it again, loop cut and slide, and then we'll right click to have that in the middle again. Okay, so now what we'll do is we're going to create this quarter here. So we're going to use loop cut to create a face which we're going to use to extrude the leg from. Okay, so I just extruded, so I've just added another loop there and add another loop here. Okay, I'm just doing this by eye. If you wanted to, you could turn on snapping, and so you can turn on snapping and change it to increment so that it snaps to increments, so it's roughly the same size. I'm not going to bother with that right now. So now we've got this face here. So if we go to the bottom here, we can take this face and extrude it down for the leg. So let's go ahead and grab the face. So we'll go to face mode, select this face, and then we'll press E to extrude. And you can see I've got snapping on, so it's snapping in increments there. And then I'll just maybe move this up a little bit, just turn off snapping. Shift tab is the shortcut for snapping, so if you want to turn that off while you're doing it. And if you've got snapping on and you press Control, the snapping will turn off as well, so you can temporarily turn it off. Okay, so now we've got our leg. What we can do is we can delete the quarters that we don't want and mirror this. So let's get rid of the stuff that we don't need. So I'm just going to isolate this. If I come out of edit mode and press tab, so now I'm in object mode here. So let's just go ahead and hide everything that we don't need. I'm going to press Shift H to get rid of everything that we don't need. And again, that's inside the object, show hide and show unselected. Okay, so we'll just get rid of the stuff that we don't need. So press tab. I'm going to use the box select mode to select these faces. We just zoom in here. Okay, and what I need to do is turn on this visibility button, so now we can see the back faces. So we can press B for our box select, click and drag with our left mouse button over the faces that we don't want, press X to delete, and we're going to delete faces. And I'll do that again for this side here. I'm going to press B, click and drag, press X, and get rid of the faces. So now we only have a quarter left, and we're going to go back to the object mode, and then we'll go ahead and mirror. So how do we actually mirror? Well, we apply something called a modifier, and a modifier is located in this kind of wrench icon here, and you can add modifiers here, and you can see that they're categorized into different areas. And basically what they do is they change the shape of an object. So you can do things like create arrays of objects, you can join objects together or cut them in half. You can do quite cool stuff like build an object, and this is great for animation. You can make something thicker with solidify, and you can smooth something with subdivision surface. So we're going to use mirror, so I'm going to use mirror there, and it gives you some options here. You've got the x-axis, and so it's basically taking this object, and if you look at the axes there, it's going to mirror it about the x-axis. So what we're going to do is add another one. Let's go to mirror again, and this time these are the properties for that next one. We're going to go in the y direction. Okay, so the power of these modifiers is that you can use them together, and they go from the top down. So the first one is applied first, and then the second one, and so on and so on. So that's pretty cool, and you can change the order using these little arrows here if you want to. some of these controls are quite useful as well. You can see things like, for example, this button here is for rendering. So basically, if you don't want this to show during rendering, you can turn this off if you want to, and you can just have it show in the viewport but not render. You can also have the opposite, so you can have it show in the viewport, not show in the viewport. So if I press this button, it's not showing in the viewport, but when I render, it should be there. And then you've got this button here, which is great for seeing the end result. So if I press tab, you can see actually my object is only this object, but if I want to see the end topology for the rest of the object, I can press this button here and I'll see those objects, the faces that were going to be created, and I can select those there, or I could select them on the original object, and you can see it shows you and it highlights what's being affected. So that's quite handy as well. I'll just turn that off. And to get rid of your modifier, you can press X as well. The other two keys here, which are always on modifiers, is copy and apply. So copy is good for copying and pasting to other objects, and you can also do apply, which is really important. We'll do that a bit later. What that will be is for baking in your results. So once we've finished and we want this to be an entire object, at the moment it's just this quarter and we've got modifiers applied to this, and what Blender is doing is it's actually calculating what's going on, and it's basically taking this and then mirroring it each time you press play. But what we need to do is we need to bake this in and just apply this once we're happy with the shape, and then it will just be one object. Okay, so let's just go ahead and bring everything back now. I'm going to press Alt H to do that. Let's come out of edit mode first, then I'll press Alt H and you can see it's all back, and we're just going to adjust the size of this. So let's move this across first of all. Click on the object and I'm just going to move it across, and I'll just put it in the middle of this. It should make it a bit easier. Okay, and I'm going to make it slightly wider than this shelf and slightly higher as well. If it's not on the floor, you can use your snapping to turn on your snapping and turn on face, and you can click on this arrow here and make sure you click on the floor and it should snap to the floor. Okay, so I'm just going to turn that off right now, and what we'll do is come into edit mode again. I'm just going to press F to frame this up and then go into edit mode. And then what we'll do is select these vertices. So I'm going to click on vertices and we'll just select these ones here to make this wider. So I'm going to press B to box select and just make sure we select all those vertices. If you haven't selected the back faces, the back vertices, excuse me, then make sure you've got this visibility on so you can see the back faces, and then it should select them. And then you can just go ahead and just move it to the side, and you can see the modifier is still working, so it's updating in real time, which is really cool. And then you can go ahead and do the same thing here. Press A to deselect and then B to grab everything on this side, and then just make it a bit deeper, something like that. And then we'll just move this a little bit later, and we'll just make this a bit taller as well. So I'm just going to press A and then B again to box select and grab all these ones on the top and just make it a little bit taller than the window here. Okay, happy with that. So I'm going to press tab to come out of edit mode and just move it back a bit and just maybe center it up a little bit. Okay, so once you're happy with your table and you're happy with the shape of your table, you can just make sure that this clipping is turned on, and that just removes any artifacts that you might have. It basically prevents things from overlapping in the border. So if I press tab, just show you. So if I were to grab this vertex and grab it over the border, it won't actually be able to go over that border of the mirror. So basically it will keep a nice straight line there, and it will merge all those objects together. So I'm just going to make sure that clipping is turned on in both of those, just in case. It's always a good thing to have on. And then what we'll do is we'll just bake these down by clicking on apply, and it's always good to do the first one in the order, so I'll do the first one first, otherwise it complains up here and says it might not be what you expected. So we'll say apply. Okay, so now if I press tab, you can see we've got, let me just deselect, you can see you've got your entire object now, and if you click on face, you should have faces there, but you can see that they're doubling up. So if I just undo, let me just get rid of this visibility thing, and I'll just show you what I mean. So if I move this down, you can see that one is only one face, but some of these ones are actually doubled up. Okay, so sometimes it does that with the mirror, but it's not a problem. It's quite easy to get rid of all that stuff. So we just press A to select all of this stuff, A, just press it twice to deselect and reselect, and then we'll just come down to the tool shelf here and just say remove doubles. Okay, and you'll see the color change there, and now you can see that we've got rid of those extra faces that were inside there. Okay, so that's a good way of getting out of trouble if you've got some dodgy geometry. Applying this remove doubles is really useful. Okay, so now we'll go press tab, and let's just name this table, and then we'll save. So just go to File, Save As, and save it as 04 and save. In this lesson we created our table and we used the mirror modifier to do that.